pleasure to introduce to you the man of the hour,
Tony. Hello and welcome back to At the Gates. I am with my friend, Grog. Hey! Dad! Dad! Mateo! Dad! Daddy Mateo?
Wait, what did we say?
Daddy's damn.
Daddy's damn. Very, very damn. Both daddies are damn. One of the daddies got to see the full game. The other daddy didn't. Right, talk about that. That's it for now.
All right, and we're back. So that was in the car. Now I'm in the hotel, and there is a lot to unpack. It was quite the experience, and I'll back up and say that yesterday evening, from about 5:30 or 6 until 8 or so, I watched Field of Dreams for the first time, at least first time to my knowledge or memory. I've seen bits and pieces, but I was pleasantly surprised. It's still just all right. Maybe bordering on good, but not one of my favorites, but definitely not the boring, dry movie that I expected, or overly cliche, or overly, I don't know. I have a tenuous relationship with baseball movies, so that's a whole other can of worms, but it was decent, and to see that within 24 hours of watching that movie was pretty cool. The corn aspect couldn't be understated, and you walked through the outfield from the Field of Dreams movie site and then followed the path into the big league site, and it was awesome. That was one of the best entrances in all of sports. And then they did it even for the players. They had them come out from the outfield, the corn area. They took down part of the fence, and Kevin Costner came out first through there, and people started going nuts. He walked around for a bit, and then out came both teams, and it was pretty awesome. The lights were really awesome once it got dark. There's just so much. I could keep talking and talking and talking, but I think rather than get weird, and also I have yet to eat anything all day, which is dumb, and that almost led to me injuring, if not medical emergencying myself. And yes, that's a verb. I got the tingles all over me. The heat stroke was coming up strong on me. I could feel it. I could feel the lips were hard to move. Like I said, the tingling. It was hard to walk upstairs, and I'm glad I bought water when I did, because if I didn't do that, I may not have seen the game, which would have really sucked. And I'll talk about prices and all that stuff more tomorrow when I'm driving back. Deal? Deal.
10:20 a.m. in the middle of Iowa, driving back, 3 hours left on the road. Oh boy, what a night. Processed it. Couldn't wake up this morning because it was just not just a late night, because it really wasn't, but between the emotional toll and then the physical toll, and I alluded to that a bit, it was humid, very warm. I won't say hot because it was only mid-80s, mid-upper 80s, but in the corn sweat is a real thing, and oh boy, Yeah, I did not handle that well. Not handle, but I did not prepare well. I didn't eat all day and tried running around, had long pants on, had a dress shirt on top of a t-shirt, had a tie on, all the mistakes that probably I could have made, I made. Went hard for balls early on, and I will address this a bit more in detail, but quick analysis, Field of Dreams, amazing ballpark, terrible for ball hockey. So I keep running around trying to get balls, and it finally caught up with me, and felt tingly all over, obviously felt super warm, super thirsty, dry mouth, started getting a little bit in my own head, plus not really fully there. I have some poison ivy that's healing from my last trip, and right now it looks like some temporary scars, and those temporary scars were no longer pink like they are again now. They were full-on purple, so I can only imagine that I was in a bit of a state, and bought a 1 liter of water, quickly downed that, sat down for a little bit, gained my bearings, and kind of came out of it. Went a little bit harder for some balls after I thought I had powered up, and the power went back down again. Got another liter of water, then started feeling kind of ill in the stomach, and that was right about game time. But I powered through that again, and it worked. It really worked. I think I had 2 other 20-ounce bottles of stuff. Can't remember exactly what. I know I had a Gatorade, I think a lemonade, and maybe another water or something, I don't know. But I did not pee the entire game, and peed minimally last night, so that tells you how much sweat was drenched on my clothing, on the seats, and it's pretty gross, but it was fun. And now for the details of the game. I can't wait to see it on TV because I just think it's going to be a completely different experience than the one that I went through. Just from what they were showing on the big screen, it looked really cool. What I've seen on Twitter from screenshots and some short videos, it looks really amazing. And I mean, the game, that really was as cliche and as overplayed as this joke or analysis has been made. It was a movie script ending. That was amazing, and the fact that it was Tim Anderson that did it, that guy is awesome. I mean, he has the swagger. He has fully earned it, believes in himself, and I mean, he might be the reason why the Chicago White Sox team is so good. Not just because he's good and has brought that out in players, but I think it's really that attitude. It's spread like wildfire, and it's not just cockiness, but even before the game and stuff, you can tell that those guys are tight. They really do like each other. They're close. Everyone on the field is loose and supportive, and it's really cool to see. I guess I'm just gushing over the White Sox now, which, when you're comparing them to the Yankees and you're a Twins fan by default, sure, you're going to hate the Yankees. You don't really tend to love the White Sox, but I'm in a bit of a different boat, especially since I grew up loving Robin Ventura and the White Sox, so that hate is not in me like most normal Twins fans, but even then, I think we can all agree that the Yankees are the worst. So, gun held to our heads as a Minnesota collective, we're going to probably root for the White Sox. And you could, I don't know if it was just me or if everyone felt it, but in the top of the ninth, when after that guy gets on base, you could just tell, like, oh crap, the Yankees are going to get a home run here, and they're going to go up. Sure enough, that's exactly what happens, and you start to think, oh, of course the Yankees are going to win this game. But then the White Sox put a man on base, and then, like I said, with it being Tim Anderson coming up, you get the same feeling again. You're like, oh man, I thought the movie script was perfect for the top of the ninth. No. That, like, now it's the bottom of the ninth, and I just felt like those home runs were obvious. And you knew that they were coming from a mile away, and it was still electric. It was incredible. The beginning of the game was awesome, having Kevin Costner come out and do his thing, then having both teams come out through the corn. I know Jared sent over a screenshot or a photo from someone on Twitter, and just that looks amazing. Both teams coming out through the corn with the house perfectly framed in the background. That's a shot. That will be marketed perfectly. And speaking of marketed perfectly, I made a sign that said, this is my corny sign, and the corny was written in a corn font. Yes, I used different versions of corn, whether it was a ear of corn, a kernel of corn, or a stalk of corn. And one of the photographers saw that before the game and took my photo or took a video. I'm not quite sure. I didn't see it, but one of the ladies at the end of the game said, oh, you just missed it. You were on the big screen. They showed your sign from the beginning of the game because she had seen me with that. I guess I got some love. That was pretty sweet. And like I also mentioned before, I also dressed up like I was kind of old-timey because why not? When you're going to a venue like that for a special, what I was thinking was once in a lifetime, but we'll cover that more later. When you head to something like that, you pull out all the stops, and I wasn't the only crazy person because obviously there were some of the old school White Sox impersonators with their wool uniforms there, a whole team of guys, but there were also some other fans that were dressed up kind of old school looking. Especially I saw one lady actually in basically a flapper costume or a flapper wardrobe from the 1920s. If you don't know what that is, look that up. And that was so cool. Like, I think Major League Baseball, as much as I have a hard time with all of the Hollywood stories and all of those things that are kind of pushed on us about the good old days and the 1920s Yankees and Babe Ruth and all these things from a long time ago, I really do have a problem with that because we have a game going on right now. We have a future that I want to be great for the game. We have a player that might be the best ever. We have another player that is mimicking one of the best ever, and I'm talking about Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, respectively. We have stuff, but at the same time, every once in a while when you kick it back, and especially I would love to see something encouraged for the fans to get dressed up like old time games, to have just one game a year that's just specially designed to basically be in a specific era. It doesn't always have to be the 20s. You could do the 50s. You could do even the 1880s. Like, make it weird. Heck, do the 80s. Demolish disco again. No matter what, like, there is that rich history that can be cultivated, but I think this was the perfect blend of cultivating that history and then writing a new chapter, because obviously it wasn't the exact Field of Dreams location, because that field is much too small and you also don't want to rip that up. But it was a new location on that old location. So you have the new and old. You have the new wave of talent, but also the old teams. You have the White Sox and Yankees, which have a long history. So you have the new school approach, which is hitting a bunch of home runs, which definitely happened last night, and some of that swagger and some of that charisma, like Tim Anderson, or even at times Aaron Judge, or some of those Yankees that, even though they're kind of told as a Yankees organization to act like you've been there before, I know that there's times when guys get pumped up, and I think that's new school baseball, that it was awesome. So I'm probably rambling at this point. I'll try to shut it down, but there is so much more that I could cover, that I could talk about, and I probably will in the future. But as far as experiences, this might be one of the coolest experiences at a Major League ballpark ever. It, not only that, like, it's the top 3 baseball games that I probably ever attended to. 2009 Game 163 comes to mind, obviously, because that was amazing, and the Twins won 6-5 in extras. And it was to save the dome and allow it to live just maybe a couple more days, which it did. Then there was also the 2020 Game 4 of the World Series, which was that weird walk-off by the Rays and Brett Phillips. That was wild. I believe that was 8-7, and that was an experience. And then there's this walk-off on the set of a Hollywood movie set in the corn in a state that had never had a Major League Baseball game before, and the Yankees got played. That's a top 3 game, and what pushes it over the top too is it's so far a one-of-one experience. There's never been a baseball game played there before, and there hasn't been one after. And like I said, walking through that corn to get to the field, then watching the guys walk through the corn to get to to the field itself, onto the field, like, it's incredible. I'll stop gushing, and I guess we'll rip the Band-Aid off at the end here. The unfortunate part to me is, from what I've been hearing, from what was kind of leaked up on the north side of Chicago, and kind of the vibe that I got from some of the employees there at Dyersville, is that it does sound like next year Cubs-Cardinals is likely going to happen. I don't have a problem with them trying to capitalize on something that was so amazing. It just makes sense. But just like Hollywood and everything else, like, we don't always need sequels, and we also don't need sequels so quickly, because it takes away from the unique experience that just happened. Allowing things to breathe often lets you reflect more kindly on it, and allows you to reboot and find things to do slightly differently in order to give that new experience its own life. I just don't see where trotting out Kevin Costner every single year is going to be as special. Sure, it's a rivalry between those two teams, but the movie wasn't about the Cubs. There were a couple guys from the Cardinals that I could tell in the background, but it wasn't really about them. It was mainly the Chicago White Sox, and then just Major League Baseball in general, and not so much those teams. I could see maybe waiting a decade and then doing it again, but I also understand that they tore down so much of that cornfield and have things nicely prepared in order to do it again. I know that they're tearing down the field itself, but at least the blueprint is there for future iterations. But I don't know, maybe keep it there as like a youth field for a little bit, and have other levels of baseball be able to experience that. But Major League Baseball, like, keep it special, keep it kind of exclusive, and make it a thing that you don't just get bored of. I know that the NHL has their Winter Classic that is always on New Year's Day, and that became a tradition, which is great, and I agree with, but they also rotate the venue, and it's not based on something like a movie, and it's not pulling at those heartstrings. You pull at something too much, and I fear that we'll become numb to it, and it will lose what made it special, and I just hope I'm wrong. But no matter what, I can say that I was there for the first game in Iowa, for the first game at Field of Dreams, and not only was I pleasantly surprised by the movie, for watching it in its entirety in one sitting for the first time, I believe, in my life, but I was beyond pleasantly surprised. It blew away my preconceived notions and expectations. The game itself, you don't need to watch the movie in order to get those chills, but I'm so glad I experienced it. And like I said, if you're going there to expect baseballs, don't. And that's fine. I'm actually a little bit glad that they didn't have commemoratives and all that stuff, because it meant me chasing less during the game. It meant me taking in more sights and experiences and being able to walk, see the house from the movie, see the field from the movie, see the field itself that the guys were playing on from further away, walk through the corn a little bit. Like, I felt like I was able to experience it, and I am so thankful for that. So that's it. I think I'm going to sign off here. I really appreciate you listening, and let's do this again. Well, not this exactly, but let's do something like this again. Maybe I really want to see one at Mount Rushmore. What's your guys' thoughts? Where would you want to see a game? Any iconic location, especially I would ask that it be in a state that doesn't have a Major League Baseball team. Comment below. That's it. From Iowa, signing off. Bye.